But make sure you subscribe and click notifications, otherwise you will not get my videos, and that is tragic. It is tragic, I tell you. It'll be the worst 2020 ever if you don't do that. I guarantee it.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Glam Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you about dumbbell presses, like flat dumbbell presses or even incline dumbbell presses, because somebody was asking me, or at least they were telling me, because sometimes people ask me and tell me at the same time, but this person was asking me, how should they press? Should they press in an arcing motion to include more of the chest, because the pec does bring the arms across the body like this, or should they push straight up? And which way do I do it, and which way did I find was the most effective?
Glenn, you in here, Glenn? Oh, there you is.
You know, you could probably get a lot more power in that hit if you just went straight forward rather than doing the whole hook arching thing, you know?
All right, Mr. G, try that out.
Better. It was better. That was better. Again, this is going to be based on each individual, injury history, and where your insertions are and attachments are with your muscles and things like that. So I'm open to variation here. So if you are doing something different than what I'm going to explain right now, I'm okay with that. I'm not saying that you have to do it my way, but what I'm going to share with you is what I found to be some things to watch out for. The thing is with dumbbell presses is that it is called a press, which means you are pressing forward. That's really what a press is. And anytime you press forward on the flat, your humerus is coming more towards the center of the body. This is what's happening. So the chest is included no matter what during the press. How much of the chest? That could be debatable depending on how much elbow bend there is and so forth, because this is the difference between close grip bench and wide grip bench. I mean, close grip, you're using a lot more tricep. You are using some chest, but the chest starts to get more diminished as you go closer in the bench. Now with dumbbell presses, I've seen some people do more the arcing motion because they want to make sure they include that chest. Now the thing I want you to watch out for is once you start to turn the press into a fly, you're basically turning it from a compound into an isolation movement, really. It's starting to become an isolation. And for isolation movements, remember what I say, you always have to do higher rep ranges with isolations, because if you do low rep ranges, the risk of injury is much higher, which is why you'll see guys getting pec tears and stuff doing the wide dumbbell arcing bench when they start doing reps of 4 or 5 reps. It becomes like a wide grip bench press when you're flaring the elbows. When you're flaring the elbows on a barbell bench, there's more of a risk of a pec tear because you're not distributing the forces evenly throughout all the joints involved in the exercise. This is something to watch out for. If you're trying to isolate a muscle group, remember, trying to isolate a muscle group is changing that compound more into an isolation, and there are some pros and cons to go with that. So just remember that if you are bringing that type of technique into your dumbbell bench press routine. Now, the other thing I want to say, with compounds, I find it usually a best policy to distribute the forces as evenly as you can amongst all the joints involved, especially the stronger ones. So say you're squatting, you want to put more of the stress on the hip joint, not as much on the knee, although there's going to be some stresses on the knees, but the hip joint is a stronger joint to distribute the force through, right? So that's why a lot of people squat, especially when they're powerlifters, they squat hip heavy. So with dumbbell presses, don't worry about isolating quite so much. I mean, it's different to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna move just a half a centimeter or half an inch outwards or half an inch inwards and press accordingly. That's different than saying I've got to isolate totally and make it into a fly, right? That's a different technique altogether. And if you do this too extremely, you are going to be putting forces on joints in a different way, and make sure you adjust the weights and intensity accordingly. So for me, I find if I go too wide, what I find is that it puts stress on the shoulder, and sometimes I get a tweaking sort of thing going on the shoulder. Could be from a rotator cuff tear, could be from a lot of things that happen in hockey and whatever. So this is something to watch out for. You do want to make sure first and foremost that your joints feel good and that it doesn't feel like there's a risk of injury. The first thing is avoiding injury. That's the first rule of any exercise you're doing, is to make sure you're not going to get injured. The second rule would be to, how do I use this exercise in a way that hits the muscle that I want to hit? And third is it efficient? Because sometimes you're trying to hit a muscle, but it's basically so counterintuitive that you're really fighting the awkwardness of the movement more so than really hitting the muscle hard. You might be flexing the muscle isometrically or something like that, but you're not necessarily isolating it very well. So the thing is with dumbbell presses, you don't have to overthink it too much. I mean, save your isolation movements or your isolation work for the isolations, and then do the compound where you feel like the forces are distributed evenly, and therefore you're getting a lot of muscle groups involved. And if you start to notice that you're developing too much so in the tricep or too much in the shoulder, then yeah, just move the arms out just a tiny little bit and see if that makes a difference. But just a little bit. It doesn't have to be an extreme arching type movement. It can still be a press, down and up, right? Mountain. I got my shirt, see? I got my shirts in. Mountain shirts. All right, here's the new hoodie, the Mountain. Look at that, eh? And here is a Heather shirt. It's the standard Heather t-shirt. So you got the nice color in here, this Heather kind of texture. I like that, nice shirt. With a gray hoodie. This is a zip-up hoodie, right? So you can pick different hoodies on the site. You don't have to have the standard kangaroo hoodie. You can actually click on the hoodies and then it'll give you different variations. It's a zip-up hoodie, right? Here is a ringlet t-shirt. So it has the rings around the t-shirt, right? Black. And here's another Heather shirt. This is like a purpley blue Heather shirt. Train the muscles, not the joints. Here's a Mountain tank. Mountain. There you go. Tank top. So yeah, I got a bunch of shirts in here. Sweaters, I got a couple more. Train the muscles, not the joints sweaters, because my sweaters are getting all worn out. So. And I got another Mountain sweater right here. So yeah. Couple purple hoodies, a couple t-shirts, and a couple tanks. I'm sure I ordered a couple tanks. Here's a tank top too, another Mountain tank top. This is a Heather one. Yeah, I get them a medium. It's, if you take a large t-shirt, then you probably should take a medium tank. That's kind of a good policy anyway. So I find the t-shirts are good in the large, but then yeah, the tank tops are a little bit too loose fitting with when I go large there, but it's up to you. Yeah, if you want a shirt, go order a shirt. You don't have to order a shirt though. Don't worry, just because you're not wearing a Mountain shirt, you won't end up on the mountain. I can't promise anything though. And share my stuff. Yeah, share it. You heard me. You heard it. Share it. Share it around. Spam your friends. It's a good policy, just spam your friends with my stuff. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalglambodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patron supporters, and take care for now. And